All right, in this video, we are going to continue talking about databases, and in this example, we are going to show how to run a simple query on a database file that's already been created. So basically, we are reading data from the database. It's this example query database example.java, and let's take a look at it. All right, just like before, we will set up a connection, right? Same way we did before, and create a statement. Same way we did before. Set the timeout, right? All of that is very, very similar to what we did before. So now, what we want to do is get some data out of the database, and you would do that by writing a Sql query. All right, SQL queries, a lot of them will start off with select, right? And then here are the fields that I want to select from. Okay, you can select all the different fields that you want out of the database. Okay, out of a particular table. Here, I just want to get the first and last names of people. But if you want some other fields, you could just add them to this query as well. All right, and then from whatever table that we're looking at, our database only has one table, payroll, but most databases have more than one databases. And by the way, I'm not the way ours is organized is not great at all. So we're just doing some very, very basic examples. Like I mentioned earlier, designing a database is a whole class in and of itself. Okay, all right, and then here next I have this where clause, and that is where I'm going to filter out the data. So here I am saying I want the last name to be like, and then this expression here, C. In the SQLite language, this is like a wildcard, the % sign, okay? And so here, basically what I'm doing is I am getting the first and last names of all of the people whose last name starts with the letter capital C. Okay, so that's my query. You can see I built it up as a string here. All right, and then to execute that query, I'm going to use the statement object that we created, just like when we were creating tables and inserting data into the tables. Instead of execute update, which we did for creating tables and inserting data into tables, this one is execute query. All right, we're getting data out of there, and then I just pass my SQL command or my SQL query as a string into that function, and then it's going to return a result set object, which I'm calling RS. All right, so you're going to have to import the result set, and this is basically all of the data that the database sent back to you. Okay. So it's all stored in this result set object. And then what we need to do is to iterate over that result set object. So we set up a while loop, and the thing that we use to control this is rs.next. So what happens is that every time the loop finishes, it will go back and check this condition. And when it checks this condition, it calls this method, and that method returns the next result set object. Okay. All right, and so as long as there's another result in the result set, this while loop will execute. Okay, so this gets all of the results out of there, and then what I need to do is basically pick apart the rows that are returned. All of the data that's returned is going to be in this format right here. It's going to have a last name and a first name. And last name and first name are both strings. So we would use the getString method for getting that data out. And there are other datas for getting or other methods in the result set object for getting out data that is a integer or an int or a double. Okay. Then what I need to do is to tell it the position where that's located. So the way our query is set up, last name is going to be at position 1, and first name is going to be at position 2. And don't ask me why it doesn't start at 0 like everything else in Java, but for some reason it doesn't. Maybe it has something to do with SQLite. Okay. So this fishes the last name out of the result set row, and that's because last name is first here under these fields list after the select. And then this fishes out the next string, which is going to be the first name. And we put that in the variable, and then we print it out. Okay, so run this, and compile it, and then when we run it, we can see, right, it returns all of the people with C, right, as their first name. Okay, and so you can change it, CA, that's all the people whose last name starts with CA. Right? Or whatever else you like. All right, I want all the people whose first name starts with the letter S. Okay, and so you can see if I want to pull their email out, right, I could do that by adding another field up here, and then I would have to add some lines here, equals rs dot get string 3, and then I have to put that here as well. Oops, I forgot a percent there. And then add email in there, and that should pull out their email. Let's see. Okay, I've got this spurious percent in there. All right, so that should pull out their emails as well. Okay. All right, and so that's how you would run a query. Okay, and so one more video. In the next video, we will talk a little bit about some of the security issues involved with this, and you should be aware of that. And that's something that's called the Sql Injection Attack, and we'll see. I'm just going to show you the Sql Injection Attack. There's a way to mitigate that, but for the time being, I probably won't go into that because that's another series of things to fix it. But I at least want you to be aware of some of the issues with this database input and output. All right.